Hey everybody, it's Chase with AV Pop Culture again, and today I'm back with another list of 10 of the most over-the-top, steamiest, scariest, and sexiest horror movies of all time. So pop that tape in, I got you, let's go do this. All right, so steamy, scary horror movies. This is sort of volume 2 of this list. I'll link volume 1 here because horror and, the steamy vibes kind of go together. I have 10 very good horror movies here that I really enjoy, and I think you will too. It's going to check all those boxes that you're looking for a list like this. So let's jump right in at number 10 with 1982's Cat People.
What did they tell you about me?
I used to fantasize about you when I was in the orphanage.
Yes, I had the same dreams.
Now, I have the 4K here from Scream Factory, and this one is one that is universally considered to be one of the sexiest horror movies out there. You have the whole feline thing, sort of the cat eyes going on. You have Natasha Kinski, always stumble over her name. You have Malcolm McDowell in this movie. You have John Hurd in this movie. You have Annette O'Toole, who does one of the only nude scenes that I can recall her ever doing. You have Ed Begley Jr. in here, Lynn Lowry. You have John Larroquette. I mean, this movie is stacked with people, and it is actually sort of a remake of an older film from 1942, I believe, was original Cat People. But this is about a beautiful woman who discovers true love for the first time, only to find out that that experience, let's say, will bring sort of tragic, bad, scary consequences to it. This is a Paul Schrader film, and it is, like I said, widely considered to be a very steamy, erotic horror movie, just full of scares. And it all is kind of around the fears of first love and how, your first encounter and how that sort of changes people. If you really want to kind of get deep into it, you can kind of find some deeper meaning there. A very, very erotically charged and scary horror film. Very different, though. Very, very kind of a different film. The 4K here really improves over the clips you're seeing, which are like on the Blu-ray. This looks like a whole different film. Definitely check out Cat People. It comes in at number 10 on our list. Now, at number 9 on our list is what is considered to be one of the sleaziest giallos, or at least one of the biggest giallos that is very sleaze-oriented. I am talking about 1973's Torso. Now, I have the Blu-ray. This has since been released on 4K. You really focus on 4 women who retreat to what they believe is going to be the safety of a countryside villa after attacks at the university sort of kind of leave them, in shock. So they leave and they're going to be safe out here at this countryside villa. Or maybe not, because that string of murders that are happening at the university, well, maybe it just is a little bit closer to home. Maybe it follows them out there. Killer is going to be close behind these ladies everywhere they go. Very sleazy. It's just definitely packed with that Italian style, like sort of just TNA thrown in there. Giallo films were very much about, the shining knives, the eroticism, all that kind of stuff, kind of playing in together. Torso definitely checks all those boxes. It is widely considered to be at the top of that. So for that reason, I think it fits nicely on this list. Maybe a little bit lighter on traditional horror, so it's down the list a little bit more, but definitely one to check out. Torso comes in at number 9 on our list. Now, at number 8 on our list is one that I don't actually have because I just know there's a 4K set of these 3 movies coming. Part 1 was in the first list, the first volume of this video. So this is part 2. It's got to be here in the trilogy. It's a prequel. I'm talking about 2022's Pearl. Now, despite the fact that it's in 2022, it's a prequel and it's set in like 1918 or something like that. It is about Pearl when she is younger. Of course, she's in the movie X, you know, all that kind of stuff, but she's older. And she is on her family's isolated farm. She dreams about being a movie star and getting out of there and all of that kind of stuff. And she's really like, she lusts for this like sexy, glamorous life. She's very repressed with her mother, who is there, is kind of domineering. She has to take care of her handicapped father. And she wants all of this life. She meets this guy who's a projectionist. He's kind of tied to movies in Hollywood. She has a thing for him. She's jealous of other people who might get out of there. And we kind of see the birth of this crazy woman that is based in somewhat, at least, in sexual repression. That is the concept of the story. So because of that, now there's not a lot by way of visuals in here to kind of add to the steamy factor of this movie. But the whole context of the film is kind of centered around that, as this whole trilogy is. So I suggest you check out X, you check out Pearl, and then if you want to finish it off, you can go to Maxine. But this one is very much about the repression of all of these things that we find prevalent in horror films. So for that reason, the Ty West film has to come in on this list. It comes in at number 8. Now at number 7 is one of my favorite horror films of all time. It is my favorite Friday the 13th film of all time. I am talking about 2009's Friday the 13th. Now, this movie, you got Derek Mears playing Jason in this movie. You got Jared Padalecki from Supernatural playing the hero in this movie. And you might say, hey, that's just a standard slasher. And it definitely is a slasher, but it's one that tries to pay homage and encapsulate everything that we loved about 80s, like camp-style slashers, with everything from the skinny dipping to the inappropriately timed sexual liaisons that get you killed by Jason or whichever monster it is. All that kind of stuff is packed in here and turned up to 11 in this movie. It literally has one of the longest sex scenes, I think, ever in film history. Just kind of keeps going away and coming back to it, going away and coming back to it. And it just goes on and on and on. And that's not even the only one. I mean, you could contain the first 15, 20 minutes of this movie, and it would be an homage, be one of the best slasher films with the TNA in it that you've ever seen. Friday the 13th, 2009, I've never understood why people don't like it. This is a fabulous 4K. I think it is everything that those 80s films were based on. It definitely has all of that ill-timed, those ill-timed liaisons, all of the, random nudity, skinny dipping type stuff. All of that stuff is here. It's here. And then you have Jason running around, cleaning up their mistakes, as you could say, being the moral punishment for it all. Friday the 13th, 2009. I love this film. I bang the drum on this film. It fits on this list. If you haven't checked it out in a long time, check out the killer cut here in 4K. It comes in at number 7 on our list. Now, at number 6 on our list is one that is hilarious. It's a Frank Henenlotter film. So you kind of, if you know him at all, you're kind of going to know what to expect from this. But boy, does this one check the boxes for this list. I'm talking about 1990's Frankenhooker. Yep, I have this special slip that a channel subscriber sent me, and the awesome Synapse Blu-ray of this. I don't know why we haven't gotten a 4K, but wow. So you know, Frank Henenlotter did Basket Case. He did, and he was very famous for that. Joe Bob Briggs helped him get that one out there. and going. But this movie fits this category 100% because you have a medical student whose fiance kind of gets killed in a gruesome way, and he is going to try to Frankenstein her back together with the choicest, the best parts of the most beautiful streetwalkers that he can find. And he's going to literally make a Frankenstein girlfriend here and bring her back. And wow, is this thing tongue-in-cheek? Wow, is it over the top? Wow, is it exploitive? All that stuff. But wow, is it a ridiculous good time. If you haven't seen Frankenhooker, it totally fits on this list. I want to laugh every time I say the title of this movie, and then you watch like some of the clips, hopefully, that I'm putting in here. The actress who plays the lead role in this just cracks me up with some of her faces. She's selling it 100%. This movie is so much fun. It is just over the top in every single way. Perfect for this list. It comes in at number 5. Number 6. Now, at actually number 5 on this list, we have one that I'm partial to because I'm an 80s kid. We had Tales from the Crypt. We had Tales from the Dark Side. We had all this stuff. I watched reruns of Twilight Zone. So, like, I'm into all of that hosted type stuff. Elvira, Rhonda Shear, Up All Night. This one had to be on the list. Now, I was already I was like a senior in high school, maybe, or junior when this one came out. I'm talking about 1996's Bordello of Blood. This stars Dennis Miller, Corey Feldman, Erica Laniak is in this movie. Chris Sarandon from Fright Night is in this movie. And Robert Zemeckis actually co-wrote this film, believe it or not. And it is, Tales from the Crypt kind of presents Bordello of Blood. So you're going to get the Crypt Keeper in here, who I absolutely loved. The Crypt Keeper tells us the story of a funeral parlor that also doubles, sort of moonlights as a vampire bordello full of beautiful women who, are just looking to take a bite out of you one way or the other. This one is funny. It has a lot of atmosphere. You got the dark and stormy night, all this kind of stuff. You're going to get the comedy from Dennis Miller. You're going to get the comedy from Corey Feldman. You got Chris Sarandon in here, and he's playing it more straight. Maybe he's a hero. Maybe he's a villain. Maybe he's somewhere in between. Not everyone loves this movie. As a total package, not only do I love it, it fits perfectly on this list. You're going to have beautiful women in various states of undress. They're in a bordello. That's what the guys are all there for. You got lingerie flying. You got vampire fangs. You got people getting bit. It's all over the place. It is a fun time. You got the Crypt Keeper laughing his ass off. Dennis Miller cracking witty, urbane jokes out there. It is all here. It is a fun ride. There's a great Scream Factory Blu-ray. I keep trying to hold out for a 4K. Fingers crossed on it. But definitely check it out. Bordello of Blood fits in on this list for sure. It comes in at number 5. Now, at number 4 on this list is actually kind of an Italian horror film that I think Scorsese actually talked about how much he loved. And it has a just amazing 4K. You can try this one online. But this is very Italian, but it definitely has some American influence. I'm talking about 1994's Cemetery Man. Now, the actual name of this is Della Morte dell'Amore, I believe is what it is. I don't have the big fancy set that tells me the name of it on here. But this movie is very gothic romance comedy meets The Evil Dead. It's a very hard one to put your finger on. Rupert Everett stars as Francisco Della Morte, and he's a man who is kind of tasked with or cursed with managing this special cemetery where the people who die and are buried there come back to life after 7 days, and he has to take care of them. And it's just kind of odd because we're just kind of accepted that he accepts this and doesn't find this especially weird in any way. But it kind of takes another turn when a just absolutely gorgeous woman is there because her husband has died. He's been buried and she keeps coming to visit him. Rupert Everett starts a relationship with this woman over time, bonding through her grief. They have lots of these love scenes together. She, is in undress, but it's in a very like fantasy type way, a very ethereal type way. And then let's say she keeps leaving him and he keeps finding her again in different ways. I don't want to spoil it, but I mean, this movie really took me the first time that I watched it, which was pretty recently, and I had to get the 4K. It definitely checks these boxes because it's very love and sex oriented, but then it has this comedy, like gore of Evil Dead, a very, very different type of movie, but one that definitely fits on this list. Cemetery Man is a very high recommend. It comes in on our list at number 4. Now, number 3 on the list is one that is like kind of synonymous with lists like these. It's fun. It has the horror vibes, the comedy vibes, the steamy vibes to it, the requisite TNA. It's got your Halloween vibes to it. I am talking, of course, about 1988's Night of the Demons.
A full moon. A spooky, deserted mansion. Halloween night.
All right, dude!
Oh, man. This one stars Linnea Quigley. I mean, Scream Queen from the 80s. And you have a group of teenagers who are going to party at this abandoned sort of funeral parlor. That's like a couple of funeral parlors on this list on Halloween night. So you're going to get the Halloween vibes in there. People kind of dressed up because it's Halloween. So you're going to pull me in because of that. And then you're going to stay for this party that gets out of hand because they are interrupted when they accidentally awaken demonic spirits. And you never know who is who or what is what after that. There's a very famous scene with Linnea Quigley in a state of undress with a lipstick. We're just going to say that. You have some very sexy dancing, some lingerie. You have kids getting up to all kinds of things on a Halloween night. If there were ever a movie that fit on this list, it's definitely this one. More played up for funny and comedic value and to kind of get you looking over here so a scare can jump out and get you over here rather than just straight up, sexy vibes. But it definitely has it all here. Very 80s. Very fun. Night of the Demons has to be on this list. It comes in at number 3. Now, number 2 on the list is one that I've talked about a couple times lately on the channel because it just got a brand new 4K that I highly recommend. This movie is so much fun, but it is a bit gratuitous and over the top, way more than I thought it was going to be in terms of what it shows. Monsters, the exploitation value of it, especially since it was directed by a female director. Now, she had a few problems with it, but then later since is like, yeah, it's kind of spot on for what this type of B-movie exploitation creature feature should be. I am talking about 1980s Humanoids from the Deep.
They're coming. Humanoids from the deep.
And you kind of get it from this poster right here. You have these sort of like man/sea creature monsters that are attacking. They're coming out of the water to attack this beautiful, idyllic little seaside town, which I always love that kind of aspect when it's like a little town, isolated. They got to deal with their own problems kind of stuff. Everybody knows something's going on. They're coming out of the water to kill the men and mate with the women in order to further their species. Now, this is a creature feature B-movie in every sense of the word, but the creatures are done very well. It kind of makes sense what you see, except maybe you have one of these sea creatures and a stalking slasher movie style shower scene, which is kind of funny to me that it's in there. But wow, does this 4K bring out everything? It looks immaculate. You kind of get to see the creatures in all their glory, the beautiful women in all of their glory. There is definitely an alien ripoff moment in this film. I mean, you got Roger Corman involved, so of course it was going to be there. This is a high recommend movie for me. If you like this type of genre, kind of steamy, kind of exploitative, where you got your nudity, your creatures, your monsters, your horror scares, all that kind of stuff, practical effects, this movie checks every single box on that list. Roger Corman knew how to do this stuff. There is no doubt about it. Humanoids from the Deep, high up on my list of favorites, especially with Roger Corman. It fits this category to a T. High recommend. Humanoids from the Deep. It comes in at number 2. And that just leaves number 1 on our list, and we're going to pause right here for a little bit of effect. All right, did that pump it up for you? Are you really ready to go? Do you want to know what number 1 is? Well, number 1 is one that doesn't have a 4K yet, but it is coming soon. I think it's just perfect at number 1 on this list, 1985's Re-Animator. I mean, you have Stuart Gordon. You got H.P. Lovecraft's story here. H.P. Lovecraft was always notoriously kind of dirty out there and exploitive and otherworldly cosmic horror and all that kind of stuff. And I totally dig Re-Animator. You got Jeffrey Combs. You got Barbara Crampton in here. And she had fun with this. Now, she actually talked about recently how this was a very fast shoot, 18 days, which is what I shoot my stuff in. And she was talking about how they were having to, employ some Colombian Bam Bam in order to, because coffee wasn't enough at their shooting schedule. So they were just rocking it through and having a blast with this. That will kind of set you up for what you're going to get here. Jeffrey Combs plays a little wormy, nerdy scientist who is brilliant, and he has found a way to reanimate, to bring back to life dead tissue, dead people. So Re-Animator, he's going to bring people back to life. But as you might imagine, it does not go the way he plans. He has another scientist and doctor who kind of gets in his way. It kind of takes a turn from there. And you end up literally with, has the famous head giving head scene in the movie that if you've just not seen it, it's just something to be experienced. It can't be explained. You have Barbara Crampton, who has a relationship with Jeffrey Combs, like sort of partner. So you have that. You have the requisite Stuart Gordon. He always had a little bit of extra TNA thrown into his stuff, and when he adapted these H.P. Lovecraft stories. I cannot wait for this to get the 4K from Ignite Films. I've seen extra clips from that. It is going to be fantastic. Barbara Crampton has done whole photo shoots with this movie for like Playboy and for From Beyond and all that kind of stuff. So it just kind of fits in that whole vibe, this and From Beyond. And to see them talking about it again and bringing it back to life, I think it had to be number 1 on this list. I think it has everything that you want from something like a movie like this in one of these lists. So much fun, not to be taken seriously. Got some scares, got some gore, got some steam to it. Barbara Crampton, always beautiful. She was one of those scream queens, and she's still out there killing it, slaying it today. Definitely check out Re-Animator if you haven't seen it. It is perfect at number 1 on this list. And that is what I have for you this time. Volume 2 of these over-the-top, sort of steamy, sexy horror movies. It's just what they are. They have a lot of fun. The violence and the sexuality kind of go hand in hand a lot of times in horror movies. That at least has always been the studies, right? But they're all for fun, not to be taken seriously. But take this list seriously and go and watch these movies. That is what I have for you. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe. It helps out the channel. You can, if you want to support the channel more, you can join my Patreon link or right here on YouTube. Patreon link, I'm going to be able to put a little more up there and they take a little less, but you can get your name and lights on every single video when you become a channel member. Behind the scenes looks at my filmmaking. If this is your first time here, I'm a working filmmaker. I've done that for a couple of decades and I love talking movies here with you all, and I just have a blast. I hope you did too. And until next time, be kind, rewind like always. This is Chase with AV Pop Culture, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.
I know.